This is an update to the past drivetrain video. I'm just going to go through just how to make a full drivetrain using the new workflow. The main difference between this and the previous one is that this drivetrain has a significantly faster load time, which should make your document, your on-shape performance a lot better. So I'm just going to assume that you don't know how to make a drivetrain, so we're just going to start from scratch. So step number one, we want to start on the right plane here, and we want to make a sketch on the right plane. Number two, we want to make the side profile. So this is our master sketch. And the master sketch is important because it allows us to get a side visualization of all of our mechanisms and our drivetrain and everything in one place, which means that we can see where they're going to be placed together and allows us to make sure we have space for everything. So once we make the tube for our drivetrain, we want to make our bumper. So if we're making like an over the bumper intake, this is going to be useful. And we want to do a corner rectangle, and then we're going to use a vertical constraint that auto constrains. So if you see this yellow line, and then we're just going to make a rectangle like this. And you can see how this rectangle is attached onto this side of the chassis for our bumper. And then we're making this 5 inches by 3.25 according to bumper rules. And then we'll dimension this as so. So we'll set our bumper height as so. So if we dimension the top of the bumper to, the top right actually of the bumper to the origin like this, we can set our bumper height, which is super useful. Because we can, this is parametric. So if we want to change this to 5 inches, we can change it to whatever. And we'll do a sketch fillet at 1.125 for our actual bumper noodles. So in terms of bumper, the reason why we're running 3.25 is the wood is 0.75 thick or 3/4. So if I were to model the wood, which you don't actually need to do this is optional, the wood would be like this, and then the noodle would be like this, which is 2.5 inches, right? So that's how we'd model our noodles and our wood as so. That being said, I don't really actually need this, so I'll just delete it. We can make this all construction, and if we really want to, we can model our curved wheels as well. But that's all for just aesthetic reasons. There's not really actually a reason to do that. So once we have our drivetrain, right, we're going to do a plane that offsets from our top plane, and this is going to be our top view of our drivetrain. So this is 1.75 because if you see here, the wheel is 1.75. Another way you can do this is you can do a line angle as so, like this, and this is going to be more parametric. So I'd actually recommend doing a line angle that on the bottom of your drivetrain line. We'd run a sketch on top as so, and then we're going to model the top view. So we're going to do a center point rectangle, and then we're going to use this edge of the drivetrain right here to set our length and make this horizontal. And I'm just going to assume that we're running a square drivetrain, so we're going to make this equal, this line right here equal to the side of our chassis, which then is shown as so. After this, we want to do an offset, and this allows us to create our chassis tubes. So we're going to do an offset of 1 inch, and then we're going to set the actual gaps for our MK4i modules that we'll be using, which is a 4.25 gap. Once we do this, we can do a circular pattern, and then set this to 4 times, and this will circular pattern to all 4 of the corners. And we can just constrain this to the origin. I want to do side rail, like cross brace rails, so I'll do that right now, and I can do this by just doing a 1 inch tube with like 4 inches or so going across. And then once we do this, we mirror as so, and we have our top view of our chassis. The next thing we want to do is we want to extrude just these 2 tubes because we're going to run a replicate feature basically. So we're going to run a circular pattern for our outer tube and then a mirror for our center tube. And then we'll see that this starts facing down, so we'll have to flip this using the opposite direction feature on our bind, and that will set our two tubes here. Next thing we want to do is grab our tube converter, which you can look through Julia's feature scripts. So if you go to the top right, there's going to be a plus here that looks like add custom features like this. You can look this up and look up Julia's feature scripts. I can spell. And then we want to look for the one that is the largest version. So as of this tutorial, it's 167. So we click this, and then we look for tube converter, and then click tube converter, and that allows us to get our tube converter feature script. So yeah. So once we get our tube converter, we can do as so. So I can do that one more time. I clicked on tube converter, I click on this, and then we can set this as so. On our tube converter, we want to make sure that we're running 1/8 thickness, because for drivetrain specifically, it's going to be a 1/8 wall, just for it lowers your center of gravity. For face style, we want to run 1 inch between holes, and then I actually would like to run mic mode here. So, and the reason for this is this specific style of tube can be bought commercial off the shelf. So you can buy this on West Coast Products, you can buy this on Rev. But I think West Coast Products has the punch tube, which looks exactly like this for 1/8. And then you can just buy this and you can assemble your drivetrain as is. And this has the center tube as well. Center hole as well. So we have this centered on tube, don't do anything fancy here, and we can just check this off. While we're at it, we're just going to quickly edit the appearance. So I'm just going to change this to like a dark gray. And that makes it look pretty. And we're going to do our next feature, which is our circular pattern. So actually, before we do our circular pattern, we're going to import our swerve module. And we can find this from parts.frccad.com. So from here, we can just grab the MK4i. I'll put the link down in the description as well. And then once we have the simplified MK4i, we're just going to copy the link and set this, drive this as is into other documents, and just copy the link and just press it and just paste this in other documents as so. Once we do this, we're going to find the composite part for the MK4i, which is right here. And then you can just click this, which then should automatically generate and place it as so. As you see here, it shows a bunch of these mate connectors, which is kind of annoying. I'm just going to press Shift P and that hides everything. And then I'm going to actually show back our pit planes in our origin. Once we do this, we can do the transform feature and press the MK4i, which is our swerve module. And then we're just going to transform via mate connector from this to the tube. You see it's flipped, so we'll just flip the primary axis, and that's it. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do a circular pattern. So we'll select these two pieces, and then we're going to go and set the actually, right before we do that, we need to get a axis of rotation, which will go back here, and I'm just going to quickly make a line. So this line right here is going to be our axis of rotation, and I'll set that there, and then we can go back to our circular pattern. So we can do this, show sketch 1, and then the axis pattern, and this should pattern everything as so. And the rest of the drivetrain appears like magic. After this, we'll just do a mirror, and then use the right plane for the mirror plane. That should show up our last tube. And this is like the general chassis, so everything else is going to be a little bit more complex. So this is basically the basics of the basics. And we can just start with going on with like, from here, we can probably just like quickly make our bumper, actually, why not? And then I'm gonna call it good for this tutorial. And I will make the next tutorial be on how to make our belly pan and electrical, just to make things a little bit easier for everyone. So for our bumper, what we're gonna do is we're going to make a rectangle as such, and then we're gonna use that top line actually that we had plus our sketch 1. And then we're gonna consign it this line to here, and then do another center point rectangle, and then consign that to our chassis. And if you're gonna do any bumper offsets, then you do it as so, but I'm just gonna do some basic bumpers. And then we'll just equal this together to make our bumper. Disable imprinting, and then we'll just extrude this up by 5 inches. So, actually, this is not correct. This is not parametric with the bumper. Should be able to. What we actually need to do is I'm going to make a plane here, and then we do it as so. This should make the bumper. Yep, there you go. That's parametric. Then we'll just fill everything. So fill it 1.25. Unshape load. Please. Yeah. 1.5, and then we'll just select all these edges as so. And then we'll do a second fillet for the corners that are 2.25. Actually 2.5, yeah. And that makes the bumpers a little bit more rounded and they look more realistic. Or prettier, I'm not sure, either or. Then we can edit this appearance to like green, a blue or a teal. There you go. And yeah, that's it. Basic drivetrain plus bumpers. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to comment. And yeah.